Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome into Fantasy Filmball. My name is Matt. With me, I've got Dylan, and I've got our international film expert, Arno, here. Welcome in, guys. So Arno, today you are going to be taking us through a little tier list. A few weeks ago, maybe like a month and a bit ago? I don't know. It was like a little bit ago. You were here
2 months
to
ago,
do...
I think.
It was 2 months ago. Oh my god, time
Yeah,
flies.
First week of November.
It was the first week. Okay, Jesus Christ. Anyways, you were here to talk about the international film category, and I just want to run back over the tier list that you gave last time. Of your top 15 films, 13 out of 15 made the shortlist. So you absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. It's and honestly, and I think the Blue Kaftan was my number 16. It was so close too.
Yeah, and then you had
and
last
then the
film show just a little bit lower.
Yeah, it was at the top of D tier. I put it top of D tier because I thought it'd be like the best film to talk about. Like it would give us a film to talk about over D tier. I should have put it higher. Honestly, like I saw that film, I was like, this, it might not get shortlisted, but this feels like something that would get shortlisted. And I put it in D tier because I thought it would be the film we would talk about for D tier. So that's on me. But either way, yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result. Even we had a few snubs.
And before we jump into this, I just want to say, I need to brag on each of these tier list videos and say, I've seen 14 out of 15 of these. So the only one I'm missing, you've seen Return to Seoul, Arno. So we can talk about all of these films in a very, informed way, because we've seen all of them.
Collectively, we have seen them all.
Collectively,
just like how
yes.
collectively we had seen all the animated films thanks to Dylan with Minions Rise of Gru.
Yes.
Arno, could you please unveil the international tier list?
Drum roll, please. I'm just going to click on it in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. In the D tier, we have Cairo Conspiracy, a.k.a. Boy from Heaven from Sweden. We have Last Film Show from India and Saint-Omer from France. In the C tier, we have Return to Seoul from Cambodia, Bardo, or the long title, whatever, from Mexico, The Blue Kaftan from Morocco, and Corsage from Austria. In the B tier, we have Holy Spider from Denmark, Joyland from Pakistan, EO from Poland, The Quiet Girl from Ireland, and Argentina 1985 from Argentina. And in the A tier, we have Decision to Leave, Close, and not quite in the S tier. I had to keep this in the A tier, All Quiet in the Western Front.
It's only in the S tier if it somehow pulls through with a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah. Should
I
we
still
talk
think
about
it
that
loses
first?
if it doesn't get there.
Yeah, let's
talk about... So,
let's talk about
All
that.
Quiet in the West, it was actually quite interesting because when I did this tier list 2 months ago, I put this first as well. And I think just a week or two afterwards, I pulled it out of my top 5. I was like, it was around the time that the film came out.
And I was
like,
Netflix just had no confidence in it. They weren't screening it. They weren't doing anything with it. They just were like, fuck it, we're burying it.
Yeah, so I dropped the film significantly, and I look back at the tier list thinking, oh man, I did such a poor job. And then look at me, I have it back at number 1 now. And it's and I don't think it's a shoo-in for a win. But there's a few factors that are kind of going against it. But right now, I think that Netflix... Netflix didn't I don't know where we read this, but I think Netflix said that this year they were going to do a strategy of we'll see what seems to be our best priority, and we'll just go we'll go completely forward on that. And they just didn't end up doing that at all. They just kind of squandered with whatever they had. They didn't commit to anything, and now it seems like they're on this...
I don't think that was ever a concrete thing. I think that we just kind of were trying to figure out what the hell they were doing. But I think it's been Glass Onion all along for them. Like, I think that they've...
Glass Onion and Bardo. And Bardo has not been fruitful in the slightest.
They backtracked on Bardo. They didn't even push that... Like, it never made their top 10. Ever.
Yeah. Crazy. And,
they never
and by the way...
it.
Yeah. So, All Quiet on the Western Front, right now... It showed up quite a bit on the short lists. That's great. But it's right now it's one of the most consistent films to show up in the international film category. People seem to like it quite a bit. It feels like Oscar bait, but it's in the German language.
Yeah.
It's hard to call a frontrunner right now, but I think this is our current frontrunner, I would argue.
I disagree, but I disagree, but just on the standpoint of, like, if it was in Best Picture, it would absolutely be the frontrunner. But as is, I don't have it in Best Picture, so I can't really call it.
Me neither. Here's the thing: is that I would happily put this in S tier, but there are two important factors that are keeping me from that. Number one is what we just talked about with Netflix. Netflix just recently pivoted, or at least it seems like they just recently pivoted back to this. And I think that this late pivot will fuck over the film quite a lot more than if they had pivoted to it much earlier, regardless, even if we don't have Oscar nominations currently and whatnot. And just the fact that Netflix is taking care of like a large slate, and they seem to be struggling to know how to manage all these films all at once. And number two, this film is not a Parasite. It's not a Roma. It's not even a Drive My Car. This film, it's. I know you love it, Matt. I'm more reserved on it. But kind of similarly to Dyl, I think. It's not this like film that everybody is going to talk about the same way that people kept on talking about Roma and Parasite.
No.
It doesn't have that power. It doesn't have that innovation. It doesn't even have the profile. Like Edward Berger did a solid job, but he doesn't show or prove himself to be an auteur with this film. And it's missing that a little bit to really go into that S tier. So that's the things kind of going against it, but it's got so much potential as far as technicals go, and then I think it's got a real chance at that 5th slot in adapted screenplay, especially given that it's coming from a Nobel Prize winning book essentially. Sure, a bit of a free adaptation, but it's still a source material that people know very well. And actually, maybe that might be a detractor if people know the source material and are like, hey, this isn't the adaptation of the book I know, because there are a lot of changes. But I don't know, maybe I'm starting to ramble now. So
I guess the one argument that does make it a front runner, I currently have it at number 3, but I could be swayed to number 1, because if it is getting nominated in sound, in cinematography, I don't think it will in cinematography, but it's possible. If it gets some of those above the line nominations, visual, not above, if it gets those below the line nominations, visual effects, sound, makeup, some of those, it will have the most visibility of any of the films here, which is a bonus for it, right? Like in past years where we've had international films nominated in other categories, usually the one that's most widely nominated will be the one that wins. So that could be an upside. It could be the most seen of the films here. But I still think that Close and Decision to Leave are both a little bit stronger. I think Close is my personal frontrunner just because it packs such an emotional punch. It is going to resonate with Academy members on a level that I think is a lot stronger. I always refer back to A Fantastic Woman, in that this is just a film that, it's not going to be a film that's going to last forever or have that sort of lasting impact on the cinematic community. However, it's a film for the now, and that says something to me. Decision to Leave is much more cerebral, and I guess the reason I don't have it winning, despite the fact that it technically should be winning, because I think it's one of the best films here, is that it is very cerebral, it is very dense, and I don't see Academy members having the same kind of warm, enthusiastic reaction as they did with Close.
I second that. To me, All Quiet on the Western Front makes the most sense for a win, but also I don't see where the narrative comes for the win, because obviously it could be the most seen film, it could be the most nominated film here, but as mentioned before, Close packs the emotional punch. Decision to Leave and Bardo would offer the more recognizable directors at the head if you're voting for the person you know. And then if you're going for outside of the film and an overall narrative, if Joyland upsets and makes this 5, that has a very good case to why it would win this category.
Yeah, this year in particular, for the win, it's a really tight category. I'm really between All Quiet and Close. I really did debate, like, which one do I put ahead. I put All Quiet ahead simply because it has more potential. Especially, like, I don't see Close getting nominated outside of international, but, like, even if I'm not in love with the film, I feel like the second half really kind of loses the ball a little bit. Whereas the first half was just way more interesting and fascinating. But, like, it's such a gut punch movie, and if people do buy into what happened, like, if people do buy into where the film goes, they're gonna, like, the ending hits like a wrecking ball, right? So, like, it's a film that people might just resonate with more. And then Decision to Leave, man, like, it's a film that I think is safe for a nom, absolutely, but it's going to be too inaccessible for some. Some people are going to be left feeling a bit cold. Some people are just, it's not, they're not going to be swayed with it as much. It's not a film. It's very safe for nomination. It's just not going to win. I don't see it winning at all. It's. I mean, this year is a bit weaker. But, like, even then, if RRR was here, it would be a done deal.
It would totally be. Which is so funny, because earlier in the year we were saying, everyone's saying RRR should have been submitted, but, like, we know that it never would have been nominated anyways. Bullshit. We don't know anything. We don't know a damn thing. We talked so much about how RRR was never a contender in the first place. We didn't know a goddamn thing about it. I think the biggest lesson we can take from RRR is that no matter how unlike an Academy Awards type film something is, it still has a chance if there's the passion there. This is just like a showcase for passion translates, and it doesn't matter where the passion is. We saw that passion on film Twitter. We saw that passion in the box office. We saw that passion on Netflix. That means people like the film, and no matter how much it doesn't seem like an Academy Awards movie, it is.
Matt, you know what that reminds me of? Reminds me of?
What?
The same argument I use for this little guy. EO is in. Oh. He's getting nominated. He's not winning, but everything you just mentioned there for RRR is what I've been saying for EO all season. People who see this movie, they love it. Even if they don't like the movie, they appreciate it for how different and artistic it is. And in a category, as Arno just mentioned, is a little weaker this year with some big hitters like Bardo or some just very divisive films and not a stylistic way of like Saint Omer or Corsage. This could easily slide in and be that fifth slot with Close, All Quiet, Decision to Leave, and then that number 4 of Argentina or Bardo or Joyland or The Quiet Girl slides in there. But to me, EO feels not a lock, but very safe for a nomination.
So I think All Quiet, Close, and Decision to Leave are safe. We might get a giant surprise on Oscar nomination morning, but I think those are as close to safe as they can be. Argentina 1985 is, I haven't seen it yet, but right now it's gotten Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, despite us not necessarily expecting it to rank there. It
feels like a hero.
Surprise film. It feels like a hero. I
Amazon
actually agree with you, but right now it's I'm putting it at the top of B tier because it feels stupid not to, even if actually this and The Quiet Girl are not in my current predictions. It just feels like the two those feels like the two films that right now, if we're going on the safe route, they're the films that feel like 4 and 5. My current predictions would actually be I'm being a little bit hope dicty / trying to predict the future trend type of thing. My number 4 and 5 are EO and Joyland. With Joyland, depending on what happens, Joyland maybe getting usurped by The Blue Captain, in that those are two films about the LGBTQ community and dealing with some similar themes, as I understand it. I have not seen Joyland yet, but I've seen The Blue Captain. And The Blue Captain haven't been seen by a ton of people yet, but it's got an incredible score on IMDb. And it's got a very high score on Letterboxd, very high score on Sens Critique. People seem to be loving this movie. Not a lot of people have seen it yet, so this could change. But right now, I think that fifth slot is either Joyland or The Blue Captain, leaning towards Joyland. That's my current prediction. If you're going safe, it's Argentina 98-85 and A Quiet Girl. That's my take.
Okay. I mean, so I don't fully agree with the Blue Captain being a possible upset, because I don't think it's warm enough for that. But I mean, I wouldn't have expected The Man Who Sold His Skin to be a nominee. Last year, I did not at all expect Lunana to be a nominee. So really, anything can happen here. And you're right, Blue Captain could be in. And with EO, I don't know. I've got EO at my number 10 out of 15 right now. I love that film so much, but it's just so experimental. It would be unlike any other nominee, but I guess, like you said, Dylan, the passion's there for it. And interestingly, it has beat Drive My Car as Janus Films' most successful theatrical release.
See,
I mean,
right
I just Drive My Car currently has grossed more than EO, but I think what you're saying is that EO is on
theater
pace.
Average. Is it?
Oh, okay.
I think it was a higher per theater average. I don't know. I think it's either
its
on
opening.
pace.
Its opening was, but and maybe it's on pace to beat Drive My Car. I'm not sure, but Drive My Car has grossed significantly more than EO currently. But EO is still in the midst of its run. But you mentioned something important, which is that box office isn't everything for this category, but we love to see box office success stories. All Quiet on the Western Front. It was a success on Netflix. Close hasn't come out yet, but it's likely to be an A24 success at the box office. Decision to Leave was a rare.
Close comes out after the nominations too, so it doesn't. The box office there.
Oh, never mind. I take that back. Decision to Leave is one of the rare foreign box office successes of this year.
Corsage
EO
also.
Corsage is we'll talk about that, but and then EO really is like proving to be, despite the essentially the pitch of this film, is actually managing to yield some important returns. People are talking about this film. People are saying not everybody is in agreement with the quality of the film, perhaps, but I think even those who aren't in love with the film recognize how ambitious and how low-key revolutionary it is to digital cinematography and all and storytelling and whatnot. So
honestly, I think a lot of people are going to see it.
Story.
I think a lot of people are going to see it because they think it's going to be Air Bud.
I mean,
I'm going to be honest.
EO does play a sport.
A lot of people that showed up to my screening of EO, a lot of them afterwards were like, wow, that was not the type of movie I expected when I heard it was going to be a movie with a donkey. I'm like, what did you expect? Did you expect it to have fun and play games and do you expect the donkey to be really good at basketball or something? Did you expect it to talk about waffles or some shit? What did you expect from a movie about a donkey? And I think that's the answer. I think it's a very easy pitch to people. I don't know. We'll have to see where this lands. Personally, I don't have Argentina 1985 in my top 5 because I see it as a hero. I think that this is the film that, especially after watching it, it's a very good film, but it's a film that I think is going to play best, of course, to a South American audience because it's intensely historical, really deals with a lot of facts that and a lot of historical context that I think is needed to fully get everything out of the film. Not like it's a complex film. It's not. It's just, I feel like it would be more enjoyable if you really had an understanding of Argentina's history of government. It's a bit of a cold film too. I think that they're going to go a little bit warmer this year. I think that they're going to go for The Quiet Girl and they're going to go for Joyland. Especially with the controversy around Joyland. I agree with you, Arno. Joyland seems very strong. I'm going to make one comment about your B column, though. As much as I love Holy Spider should be either in the low C tier or in the D tier. And the reason being is that movie flopped in the box office. It is not getting many critic awards at all or nominations. It's not really showing up anywhere. And as much as I had that in my top 5 for international all year long, I think ultimately the proof is in the pudding, and this film is just not showing up. It doesn't have a showing the way that we would expect to see from a film of its type. So I would actually put that just below Return to Seoul.
Yeah, I think you're right. I now that you mention it, I think I did place in the wrong tier. I haven't seen Joyland, but am I wrong in saying I think I heard that the film by the end is not particularly uplifting? Am I wrong?
It's not uplifting at all. I'd say it has a very American sensibility to it, but ultimately it is a tragedy.
Whereas Argentina 1985, which I agree with you,
yeah.
It is a hero. It won't be nominated. Watch somebody reclip that when it does get nominated or something. But and A Quiet Girl, both of those films end. I haven't seen Argentina, but I think they both end very, very well, right? Like, and then the ending of the film doesn't determine, anyways. And then Corsage, I haven't C-tier. Nobody was more excited than me about Corsage. And I was saying, this is going to be the surprise nomination. This is the film we don't necessarily expect. It's going to get into actress. And then I saw the film. Then you saw the film and you tried to tell me about some of the issues of the film, and you were talking about stupid production design.
I was talking about the goddamn lamps.
Which by the way, is not the problem with the film. The production design is fine. There's a few little distracting things, but you're blowing it way out of the proportion, by the way. But the film is just the script of the film is just not particularly polished. And the content, the scenes that Maria Kreutzer, the director, decides to show us are not as interesting as they should be. That being said, with Best Actress looking like it might have a potential fifth slot upset, could we say, I genuinely think that we could see Vicky Krieps get into actress without Corsage in international film.
Yeah, we can totally see that. We could totally see that. And, okay, I just want to say that me being so caught up on the production design is not me missing the forest for the trees. It's more of a symptom of a larger problem, which is that the movie was so uninteresting to me that I could fixate on one very small problem and blow it completely out of proportion. That is a sign in itself. I think when you start nitpicking a film, that shows that something generally really doesn't work with the film, because you're focusing on things that should not matter if the rest of the film was working well. So that's how I feel about Corsage, is that just generally those things wouldn't be problems if it was a good film. Now, okay, Dylan.
Yes.
What do you feel about Bardo right now?
So I was going to circle back. I was going to circle back to something Arno said earlier about Argentina 1985 and The Quiet Girl ending on a high note. Well, Bardo literally ends on a high note. And I still have it in my 5. In fact, I have it at number 2. I still am very confident that this will be an industry thing. Once we get to the award show, this will be here an international feature. In other categories, I've dropped a little bit more. But I do not have faith in Decision to Leave to win. And I don't really have wide faith for All Quiet to win this category as well. While I think it's probably the smartest choice, it's just not one I'm really feeling or seeing the vision for at the moment. So for me, I have Close, Bardo, All Quiet, Decision to Leave, and my number 5, as I mentioned before, is EO. Argentina 1985, as Matt mentioned, seems like a hero. They're both Amazon. As we saw, Amazon had a very bad slate this year, just with competing throughout awards, and this is really their only movie that's done well, so maybe that bodes well for this. But also with how much energy they put into Oppie, and Oppie still failed, I feel that the same thing will happen with this in a much tougher category.
Amazon is not going to have a good year, man. And
no.
I respect your commitment to the bit, but Bardo here, the only thing it's gotten, we haven't gotten a ton of precursors, but the only thing it's gotten zero love from critics. And the only precursor it's gotten is Critics' Choice, which, as we know, is it's fake Critics' Choice. It's basically critics who essentially try to predict the Oscars. So they did the Globes 5, and then they're like, oh, I know Alejandro González Iñárritu, I'll vote for that.
Exactly.
Nobody else is going to do that. It's such a critic's choice. It's such a critic's choice pick to like trying to predict potential Oscar success based on profile, based on package. It's gonna get nothing else. I'm convinced about that. It got lucky. It's such a critic's choice pick. That's all it's gonna get. To me, it's dead. It failed at the box office, despite Netflix having a whole 1 month plan for it or whatever. It failed on Netflix. Critics are still just as divided. Critics and audiences are still just as divided despite the recut. It's going to be loved by a small minority that won't be passionate enough or vocal enough to get it anywhere else.
That's what makes these predictions so fun, just how variance we could be. Because while I hear everything there, I still feel the complete opposite. I feel like that minority is actually a larger group that just isn't being very vocal at the moment. But like we've seen in the past, movies that seem very much like everyone hates them, you get to the nomination mornings and they still show up in specific categories. Well, I'm not still predicting Inarritu in director or Kacho an actor like I was earlier in the season. I still think it will show up here just because its case on paper just looks better than almost everything else there that's battling for that 4 or 5 spot besides maybe Joyland. But still, I think Joyland may come up just short.
No, I'll be honest, I have Bardo at number 8, so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it can happen. So, Arno, I want to hear about the one film here that I have not seen, the one film that I don't know anything about. I agree with your D column, because Saint Omer is so... it's very slow. It's not an awardsy type movie. It's a very critics type movie. I'm surprised it even made the shortlist. And then Last Film Show, it's very warm, but it's very minor. I can't see it making it, but it could be Lunana. And then Cairo Conspiracy, Boy from Heaven. I agree that is the one film that I think there is absolutely no shot in hell that gets nominated. I really like the film. It's not a contender at all. The one film
I would say that Last Film Show and Blue Kaftan are the two kind of surprise films from the shortlist.
Yes. Yes.
It's not like they were absolutely so far below, and you always want to keep those in mind, right? I have those pretty low still, but the thing is that ever since Better Days and The Man Who Sold His Skin,
yeah,
which were at the bottom of our shortlist, you cannot count these films out. If they made it into the shortlist by surprise, it must mean something. We're gonna start to hear murmurs about what films the Academy members seem to like most. Yeah. We're gonna have to keep track of that. Because maybe out of nowhere, Return to Seoul, suddenly people are really buzzing about it. We didn't necessarily expect it, and we're gonna have to bump it up a little bit because that's what happened with Lunana, right? So we'll have to keep track of that, and maybe that way we'll be more objective than if we'd seen all the films.
Or Bardo, maybe they'll buzz about Bardo.
Exactly, Bardo. And one more bold take before we hop out of this segment is the Last Film Show. I think it's higher than y'all are giving it credit for. I think India has a chance to have the last laugh at the end of the day.
You know the old women who were telling you how they loved Empire of Light? Yeah. They're the Academy voters who are going to be like, did you see this independent film from India, I think it was?
Oh my God.
It was wonderful.
It's totally...
That reminds me.
That's actually... Last Film Show, it's less Fabelmans. It's more if Empire of Light was just a little bit better.
See, when you first made that comparison, Empire of Light's what popped in my head first. Is we've hated on that movie enough. I'm going to skip over it. But that reminds me. I saw The Whale the other day, and immediately when the movie ended, someone says, I think that's my favorite movie of the year. And her husband leaned over and said, no, that's not better than Empire of Light.
Oh, no!
So that reminded me of that.
Oh my God! Oh man! All I'm certain about is that everybody's hype about Saint Omer is for the purposes of Academy Awards is unjustified. It's getting nowhere, and I'm French, so I should be biased towards it. I'm telling you, it's not going anywhere.
So what you're saying is Morocco might finally beat France at something?
Yes, and in this particular case, I'm looking. Well, they're both really good films, though. And again, you're gonna disagree.
I beg to differ.
Wow.
At least we can all agree that EO is the best film out of all of these.
Yes, I agree. Everyone out there, you should agree too, because EO, the Donkey movie, if you haven't seen it yet, it's opening soon near you, or it's coming to streaming, I would assume, by the end of January. So definitely give EO a watch. But until next time, my name is Dyl. This is EO.
And my name is Matt, and that is Arno. And thank you for tuning in to Fantasy Filmball.
Bye.